boat safety checks. These are the things that you need to do before you go out. The night before, the day before, whenever it may be. The first thing you're going to do is check the weather. Make sure the weather's good. If the weather's not going to be any good tomorrow, there's no point going through and checking over your boat. So make sure that everything's good on board your boat before you go out. The first thing we check is the weather. Okay, is it going to be good? It might be great in the morning, but is that wind going to come up? So that's certainly what we need to check. So I'm going to grab the hold of the camera. We're going to go for a little walk around the boat and just check on a few things. So when we're walking around our boat, there's certain things that we're going to check. You know, make sure the strap's on, the chain's on before you take off for the day. Have a quick look at the bearings. Even jack the trailer up. You know, check the bearings, see if they're loose. No, all we're going to do is we're going to jack it up, give it a wind. If you can hear some grinding noise as it's going around, you know that those bearings are really dry. You're trying to see if there's any sideways movement with it. Left and right, up and down. No sideways movement, then they're all good. Give them a little grease in there. I run a bit of diff oil in mine, just a little bit, just to keep it all smooth. The bungs, obviously we haven't put them in yet, but when we get to the boat ramp, make sure the bungs are in. Make sure all your steering and everything is nice and tight. You know, it's not too loose. There's always going to be a little bit of movement there, but you don't want it flopping around. The fuel filter, it's not rusting away. Checking all your lines. All your lines are nice. There's nothing crimped or broken, or it's not fraying the fuel line. These are all sorts of things that you need to check before you go out each time. Remember guys, you're the skipper, you're responsible. It's up to you to make sure that everything is working before you go out. If you get out and the steering seizes up and for some reason you have a crash, you're responsible. So make sure that the steering's all nice and free, it's loose. Make sure the boat goes into gear and out of gear. Okay? Make sure the key's working and it will start before you leave home. Make sure the batteries are charged. How many people get to the boat ramp and the flat battery? So make sure all this stuff is ready to go. You know, and while you're doing your checks, on your checklist, have certain things like your flares. Check the date on the flares. Make sure they're in date. The last thing you want to do is get a fine because this is, you know, 2 weeks out of date. So make sure it's all in. Make sure your V-sheet's in there as well. Your torch is there down the bottom here. Make sure it's working. The radio. Make sure the radio's working. All these things are your responsibility. If you get out there and something goes wrong and you can't call for assistance because the radio doesn't work, that's your responsibility. You then become liable for anything that happens. So remember guys, I can't stress it highly enough, you are the skipper, you are responsible. And remember guys, have a good read of the information above. There's some really good stuff there and it's going to help you through the test later on too.